Let's take a look at how to model a somewhat more organic shape for this knob. And so at the cross section in the center of it, we see that it is an ellipse. And then as I move out a distance to section B, a distance of 30 millimeters, it is a circle, diameter 20. And I'll move out to section C at the end of the part, the distance 45, it's a diameter of 16. So let's look at how to set all of this up. I'm going to start out by creating this ellipse, and I'll do that on the right side plane. So I'm going to go to the right plane and I'll tell it to do a sketch, and I'm going to do a center or a midpoint line from the origin going straight up vertically, and then I'll do a second midpoint line and I'll do it from the origin going over horizontally. I see that the height of this ellipse from the center up is 10, so the overall height would be 20, and then 16 from the major axis over to the center, so the overall length of the major axis is 32. So I'm going to dimension this as 32, and I'll dimension this line as 20. I'm going to change these two lines to construction lines, and then I'll draw my ellipse, and I'm going to do the center of the ellipse here at the origin, the major axis coming over to here, and the minor axis coming up to here. Now I see that it didn't turn black, so I'll try to drag something and see that if I can get anything to move. And when I tried dragging it, I did get it to convert to black fully constrained. I'm then going to draw a construction line from this point down, and I see that in my original drawing, the distance from the center down to here was distance 30, so I'm going to go ahead and dimension that distance. So I'll dimension from here to here as 30, and then I see that I have a line going across here a distance of 38 up from this point. So I'll draw a line, I'll draw across here horizontally, and I'll dimension that distance then from this line down to this point as 38. Everything turns black, it's all fully defined. I'm going to trim off this top portion of the ellipse and hope that it remains fully constrained. So I'm going to do trim, and I'm going to trim off this portion, and I'm going to trim off this portion. And it did stay fully constrained. If it didn't stay fully constrained, I would start dragging endpoints and see what I needed to do in order to get it fully constrained. I'm going to finish that sketch, and then I'm going to create some work planes a distance of 30 and 45 over here to the side. So let's turn on the visibility of that right side plane, and then under the reference geometry I'm going to select plane, and I'm going to drag a plane out here, and let's do that distance of 35 or 30. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure that when you do the second plane that you select the original plane, not the plane 1. So select the right side plane, and I'll do that a distance of 45. Alright, so I have it over 30 and over 45. I'm going to right click on the first offset plane, and I'll do a new sketch, and I'm going to convert entities to project this line into my new sketch. but I want that as a construction line, so I'm going to right click, change it to construction, and I'll draw a circle somewhere on this line, but don't draw it at the end point, don't draw it at the midpoint. So I'll draw it somewhere on this line other than an end point, and I want then to dimension the distance. It says center 41 from the end, this being the end, so I'll go up 41. So I'll dimension from here to the circle that distance of 41, and then the diameter is 20. So I'll dimension the diameter as 20. It all turns black, it's all fully constrained. I'll finish that sketch, and then I'll start a new sketch on this plane. So I'll right click on that plane, I'll do a new sketch, and this time I'll just convert entities just this point. So it's also up a distance of 41, and so I'll do convert entities. I'll select that point, I'll select OK to that, and then I'll draw a circle at that point, and we'll dimension that circle a distance of 16. Alright, then I need to do the same thing on the other side of the right side plane. Unfortunately, in SolidWorks we can't mirror these planes, so we will have to recreate them on the other side. So I'm going to do a plane again, and I'll select this, and I'm going to flip that direction, go 30. I'll click here to flip that offset direction. Okay, so I'm going to put it on this side 30, and then I'll do a new plane. Again, select the right side plane, not this one, not this one. Select the right side plane, and I actually had the previous plane number 3 selected, so I'll clear that or delete that selection, and then I'm going to actually, let's just start this from the beginning. So I'll close out of that. So I will go ahead and select this right side plane, and then I'll do plane, and so it's set as my first reference, and the distance I'll do on this one is 45, and I'll flip that offset direction. Okay, so I have my 2 planes on this side of the right side plane. I'm going to right click on plane number 3, and I'll tell it to do a new sketch. We've already got the circle over here, so I'll just convert entities to copy that circle over onto, or project that circle over onto plane number 3, and I'll finish that sketch, and then I'm going to start a new sketch on plane number 4, and I'll convert entities to project this circle onto plane number 4. We don't need to see the visibility of those planes, and I might want to organize those planes if I can, to drag them up underneath the top plane, or drag the sketch underneath the, and it doesn't want me to do that. It should allow me to do that. Well, then I'll just turn off the visibility of all these planes. I don't need to see those, so I'll hide this one, I'll hide this one, and we can either select it over here, or we can select it over here and hide. At least I thought we could hide it over here. It might be down off the bottom of the screen here. In any case, I'll just hide those planes. Alright, so I want to loft from this circle to this circle to the ellipse, up to this circle and to this circle. It's important when you select the lofts that you go in order, so we either go from right to left or left to right. Don't mix and match back and forth. And also I will select these in approximately the same location. So let me finish out of that sketch. So I'm going to select each one of these at about the 5 o'clock position. Alright, so I'm going to go into Loft. It asks me to select a profile. I'm going to select this profile, and then I'll select the next profile. I'll select the next profile, and I'll select this profile. Notice that I'm selecting in approximately the same location on each one of those profiles, and I'll say OK to that. Alright, the next step is I want to put this cylinder on down here, and to do that I'm first going to turn on the visibility of sketch number 1. So I'll show sketch number 1, and I can either do this next sketch on the right side plane or the front plane. I think I'll do it on the front plane. So I'm going to right click on the front plane and I'll do a new sketch, and I'm going to draw a rectangle from here down about like that. And then I'm going to drag this point and hope that it'll snap to the end of that line. If it doesn't snap, they're just at a coincident constraint. I'm going to change this line to a center line or construction line. And then I'm going to dimension, so I see from here to here is 20, so I'm going to dimension from that center line over to this line, get on this side of the center line, put in the diameter of 20. Now I could go ahead and close this off. If I do a revolve, SolidWorks is going to ask me if I want to close that. I'll tell it yes, I want to close that sketch, and I'll merge that to the previous feature, and so I'll say OK to that. I'll go back and hide sketch number 1. Alright, I have a fillet here, radius 6 here, radius 6 here. So I'll add those fillets. So I'll click on this edge, I'll do fillet, I'll change the radius to 6. And I'll also then select this edge up here, and this edge, and this edge. It might find it with the tangent propagation. I'll say OK to that. Alright, so I have those fillets set on my part. The next thing I want to do, and let's save this, I should save often, is I'm going to put a 20 or a 12 millimeter tapped hole on this end. So select the face first, and I intentionally pick away from the center. And I'm going to go to the hole wizard, and I will go ahead and set the position. So I'll click on position, and I'm going to click on the origin point. I'll go back to the type. I want this to be a threaded hole. I want it to be ANSI metric. I want it to be a tapped hole, M12 by 1.75. I don't want it to go through all though. So for the condition, I'm going to tell it blind. And then for the depth of the hole, I'm going to set that, and I forgot to put it on the drawing. So this is 18 for the thread, and we should go a little bit deeper on the tap drill. So let's go ahead and put the depth for the thread as 18, and then for the hole I'm going to set that as 20. Alright, and then I may want to put a near side countersink on that as well to just break that sharp edge, and I'm going to do a let's say 13 or 14 diameter countersink. I'll select OK to that. Yeah, I might make that countersink a little bit less, so let me go to that feature, and I'm going to edit that feature. And for this, I'm going to change that to 13. To break that sharp edge. Alright, now you could apply a chrome appearance on this to make it look aesthetically pleasing. You can put your material on here. So if I go up here and I right click on material, and I could select one of these existing materials, or I could go in and find another material to put on here. I might want to put a chrome appearance on that. So if I go to my appearances, and I'll come over and select a chrome appearance. Now I'm running on a DirectX card rather than an OpenGL card, so it won't appear as a chrome until I go to a OpenGL graphics card. So that completes the knob